All right.
All right.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
What's up?
Back again. Welcome back to the premium Space Repetition podcast. Using the clouds we've amassed over the past, couple of months we've been doing this. We've managed to book an insane guest today. A true titan in the world of Space Repetition. Nice.
Hello guys. Glad to be here. With you.
Now, with Nice,
This is the one and only Finnish super memo expert, the world's foremost was historian.
He was
the
scholar
man
at
who knows all the articles.
Yeah.
Scholar at the University of Helsinki.
Oh, man. Anyway, we actually do have a topic. We're not just going to say all the amazing things that Naess has done. He used to game a lot, and I used to game a lot as well. And by a lot, we don't mean like a couple hours a day, like the whole day. Only difference is, he got to be one of the best players in the world at the most popular game ever, and I did not. So, I would love to know how he did that.
Well, in the world is kind of big words, I would say. In West Europe, more like, and top of the ladder, only for a short amount of time. So.
You're being modest. Come on, dude. There's like 100 million players on League of Legends.
Yeah,
and it doesn't even matter that it's restricted to Europe. You're still competing with probably 10 million people.
Strategy has already bragged about how he's the number one Sudoku expert. So
that's right. So I'm the best at Sudoku. You're the best at games in the Discord.
Exactly.
We both have these claims. One is way more impressive than the other. I'll let you decide.
All right. Anyway, but we should go. We should explain for the audience. Nice. Can you give us like a rundown? What games were you into? Like, how did you get to the level that you were at?
Right. So, when I was younger, I used to play FPS a lot, and I've always been this one-trick pony. If I do one thing, it's the only thing I do, and I do it every day. It used to be a team sports, and then I went on to games when I was a teenager, and eventually I came to League of Legends and just started playing with my friends, and somehow these skills I acquired from team sports, like I always had good reflexes and stuff like that. It somehow transformed very well or to gaming, and somehow I was kind of naturally better than others in League. And this seemingly this advantage I had over my friends gave me this kind of confidence boost, and I really got into the game. And then I started playing ranked, and getting obsessed with it. And it was this feedback loop where I get positive results and stuff like that. And I really got hooked into it, playing 10 hours per day for extended period of time, and I did several thousand hours of LoL. I'm not sure exact numbers, but it's a lot, so you're bound to get good at it, especially when you do it in kind of analytical way. I did I actually read a lot about it, and watched pro players and used to mimic their strategies and stuff like that. You're just bound to get good with this method.
So you think that it was just down to the fact that you played a lot, or like you say, you started with a big advantage? Because I don't think just playing a lot would have produced the same kind of results that you got.
Well, to an extent it does, but yeah, definitely I was more of a mechanical player more than, this analytical player. Yeah, like as I mentioned, I had very good reflex time, response time, and mechanics. I was very quick on pressing buttons, and these quick flashy movements, and this was my advantage. And yeah, it originated from my childhood, where I used to play these kind of games where reflexes were necessary, and kind of hand-eye coordination and stuff like that. And yeah, definitely played a role in there. And I'm not sure actually. I don't know. Mostly I'd say.
Well, that's a tip. That's a tip to all the gamers of the world. If you want to get better at games, go play a real sport.
Yeah, well, yeah, real sport. And I played a lot of things like Guitar Hero and Step Mania and stuff like that, where quick press of buttons is required. And yeah,
Right. You're also very good at typing. So,
yeah,
did you get good at typing because of League of Legends, or were you good at typing before then? Or
well, because of the mentioned games, Guitar Hero, Step Mania, and stuff like that. Typing with my online friends a lot of the time in the internet, you're bound to get quick at typing when you do it all day.
Man, it's so weird because I also played games like all day, and unlike you, I didn't go to school, so I did that all year. Like, it wasn't like there was only a small portion of the year where I could do that. And I was really, really good at games, but like I was better than everybody I knew, but there was still tons of people who were better than me. Like, I wasn't even close to being that good, and especially not at a game that was less popular. So, I don't know. And I remember actually a couple of my friends who were better than me, like online, I'd met them. I would always ask them how they got so good, and they say, when you play for fun, and when I play, I'm playing to get better. And I didn't understand what they meant at the time, but it sounds like, based on what you're talking about, how much you looked into the strategies of other players and this kind of thing, you were playing to get better. You weren't just playing for fun. So it's kind of deliberate practice.
Oh, yeah, dude, that's a good point. So what percentage of the time when you were playing League were you playing for fun? And what percentage were you playing to, like, deliberately practice some skill?
Ooh, that's kind of a specific question. I didn't have that systematic approach, but basically anytime you come upon these obstacles, you hit a barrier of, like, let's say I'm playing ranked in League and I start to get opponents way better than me, and I can't seem to climb higher in rank. Then you kind of need to resort to more in-depth analysis of your game and find these leverage points where you can really improve your outcomes. And,
so when you were playing League, did you see it as like training almost, or did you still see it as like a fun thing you were doing that you were just really good at?
Yeah, it was fun for the most part. Yeah, maybe at later, like let's say last year of my gaming, it's wasn't as fun, and it was more felt like kind of a coerced thing, training thing, just to keep my level up. And yeah.
What about when you played serious? Because there's something called game battles. I don't know if it's still around, but I used to play game battles in Halo, and you would create a game battles team with you and the best players from your friends, and then you'd schedule matches with other teams. And people took it very seriously. There was no money on the line, but it was very serious. People would yell. There was a lot of screaming going on. And like at 10 or 12 years old, I'm sitting there playing as hard as I could. I'm sweating, dude. It's a stressful event. So did you ever play anything like that where you're really stressed out? I mean, it was fun, but it was really stressful.
Yeah, I definitely had those, and this is why I preferred solo games rather than team ranked. Especially when I had I had a couple organizations who were recruiting people, and I was in these games. It's very stressful. You really have to do your best, and that somebody's looking at your game, and if you screw up, then you're screwing up the entire team's game, and it's just not random people you're gonna play with these guys. And
right.
Yeah, definitely stressful.
So
yeah,
your time in League, were you mostly doing solo rather than team play?
Yeah, I did
Okay.
quite a lot of team play too, but way more solo, and I liked it way better.
Oh, okay. I was really interested in knowing like what the relationship was like between you and like the other players in your team, because one thing I used to watch like quite a lot of competitive CS:GO, and one thing I noticed was that the turnover in terms of the players in the teams was so high. Like it was almost like it wasn't even every season. It was like in the middle of the season there would be people leaving the team and joining other teams and like swapping teams and everything.
Yeah.
So it was like the notion of a team didn't even really seem to exist. It was just a brand and then random players sort of like going through a rotating door of random players just entering and leaving. And I was just wondering, like, well, even in solo play, since that's what you did mostly, what were your relationships like with the other players? Because I guess you still had friends who were playing League as well, right?
Yeah, but I don't know, like at higher ranks you kind of see the same people over again, but then again, I used to I disable chat on every game. I didn't communicate with these people, so there really wasn't any relation because the community is kind of toxic, As mentioned, it's a stressful game, and one man can really screw up the outcome of whole team. So, things are getting kind of heated up at times. So I don't really I like to focus only on my game and, have mentality of just playing alone with some random guys and not really think about them too much.
All right.
Yeah, that differs from my experience. For me, it was because I always had the mic on and everybody would chat, so I definitely talked to people. But I think two problems were I was so young, so just when you're young, you don't connect with people in the same way as you do when you get older, and also a lot of the people I played with were like significantly older than me. Like I would be 10 and they would be 20 or something like this. And what's funny is that a lot of people didn't care that I was young, so they would say all kinds of gnarly stuff, even though I was 10 years old, and it was crazy. But anyway, most of them weren't really my friends. Like I only retained like one friendship from my gaming days.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about you like at 10 years old in like those MW2 lobbies.
Oh,
the most
it's
horrific
crazy,
stuff
dude.
gets screamed
Crazy,
like 3
dude.
minutes, and then you have to go
Dude.
and play a game with them. Yeah.
During Halo 2, I was like maybe 8 years old, so I was even younger.
Okay.
And there was this guy, every time I would log on, he would call me the N-word, and I'm white.
What the heck? What the heck?
And I was 8 years old, dude. It was so wild. And he was a white guy too. And it was crazy. Anyway, sorry for interrupting that. Go ahead.
Oh
wait, was Naess speaking? Sorry.
No, I don't think I was.
No, I thought you had a question, James.
Oh, yeah. I had something lined up for Naess. Like, what I was super interested in knowing is mainly the experiences you are having towards the end of your gaming, because obviously you've mentioned just in like private conversations, like towards the end you really didn't enjoy gaming anymore, and part of the reason you became so interested in learning was that you were sort of looking for something else, and you realized that learning sort of gave you the same kinds of rewards that gaming gave you, but in a more sort of sustainable way, in a more like wholesome way. What's your feelings with regards to that?
Yeah, I didn't see the rewards when I was initially wanted to do the kind of transformation between gaming and learning. I didn't know that learning actually could offer same kind of rewards gaming does. It's just mainly that the gaming started losing its spark. It's kind of diminishing returns, sort of. You start to the barrier of getting to the next level, only grows over time. At some point you're so high level that the improvements are really, really marginal. And there's kind of stagnation of progress at some point. I think this applies to many things. I experienced the same thing with playing guitar, either things are way too hard or way too easy and so on. And, obviously you could deliberately practice and get a little better and, gradually improve. But then again, I played, already for several years and the game didn't offer me, much novelty anymore. I've seen a patterns of the game, so many times and, there's not a lot of novelty and I was starting to get older, so I wanted to, naturally gravitate towards something that offers me value in the future, something more productive.
So how old were you when you started to lose interest in gaming?
It was probably around 20, I'd say, yeah.
And then, like, how soon after that did you start getting interested in like free learning?
It took me about a year, I would say, at least a year,
Okay.
because this time I found out that I could apply to a university. I wasn't aware of that I had, chance at getting in because I didn't went to high school. I went to vocational school. What is it called? Yeah. And I didn't know that because it's not a very traditional path in Finland to go from vocational school to university. Usually they go from vocational school to jobs and from high school to university. So when I found out that I have this chance at getting university, it was this goal became very I became very obsessed with this goal and this is very intriguing. So to your question, how long it took me to get into free learning. So when I found out I had this chance, I started looking for productive methods of learning. And, this probably stems from my gaming background where I do this, try to improve my process and try to get really productive in each round. So I really started to look into productivity of learning instead of, right off the bat start learning itself. I probably spent a year without actually learning. I was just looking for, really good methods of learning. So I found Anki, I found all the other things, kind of these note-taking tools, mind maps, everything. And, then I stumbled to Super Memo year after and started getting into writings of this guy named Peter Wozniak. And, shortly after I started realizing that learning actually can be really fun and give the same kicks game did.
It sounds like your primary motivator, and I guess I was actually thinking about it, maybe this is true for everybody, I don't know. It sounds like your primary motivator for most things you do, gaming, guitar, maybe other things, is to get better at it. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would say it's very accurate. It was ever since I was a kid, it was always to get better than others, and I thought it was the main hook in things I do, but now that I think about it, it's not necessarily to get better, but these novel patterns, these new things and new ways to approach the thing I do and, to get better. And these things are very rewarding, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure how to put it in words. Yeah, big part of it is getting better. Another big part is, these novel things the thing I do offers me. In gaming, it would be like each round is novel in a sense. Even if we had same characters, we would have different movements, actions, and it's all varying in each round, even if they are seemingly similar. So
Yeah. That's a good point. So you mentioned that in gaming, so obviously there's a lot of variation between different rounds, right? Because especially in like League of Legends, like because it's multiplayer, it's like the game. It's not written into the game what's going to happen. It's sort of created by the players themselves, and like the situations are all sort of dynamically created just by how everyone reacts to a certain situation. In learning, I guess it's a similar way, in that, especially in Super Memo, you press next repetition and you get something new, and it's kind of like novel every time.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned that by the end, that sort of novelty that you found in gaming, like it wasn't really, because you've been spending like thousands of hours doing that same game, playing that same game. You mentioned that it wasn't like giving you the same kicks as it was before. Do you feel like that could happen in learning, or do you think that learning offers something different that makes it just better?
Yeah. So in gaming, like especially these games I play, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, you're restricted to this one environment, and even though it offers novelty in sense of dynamic rounds, even when characters are the same, even when positions are the same, the actions will always be different. But even though that's novel, you're still restricted to this one environment. I don't think like in learning, like learning is so wide environment. You have all the theories, all the principles, or how do you call them, sciences, and it's all related to our world, which is itself huge entity, and I don't think there's such restrictions. In other words, we have way wider environment in learning. That's way more options.
And learning is almost a synonym of making progress. So if making progress is the thing that motivates you to keep going in the game or anything else, then learning, like you say, it's basically impossible to not make progress in learning because of all the things there are to learn. It's just endless.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I really like that point about how wide the environment is in learning, and how it's basically like it basically mirrors the wideness of the world, which is like infinite. So you always have something you can invest your time into and make progress on. Another thing I wanted to talk about was you mentioned like your approach to gaming. You'd do a lot of like analytical sort of research into other people's playing styles, and you try and emulate the ones that you thought were really good. I feel like that's something I've noticed that you do quite a lot in like learning. You're really good at exploring the different. You're really good at like coming up with some experiment and then trying it out, and then
so good,
observing the outcome of it, and then just iterating on that, and just you keep doing these experiments, and you keep finding out new and interesting ways to use like the software. I mean, I don't want to just restrict it to the software. Obviously, SM has a bunch of different options. It goes like really deep. So obviously you build a lot of skill in SM, but you also just learning in general, I mean, has a bunch of different strategies, and I feel like you're really good at experimenting. I guess I don't know. I just came up with this thing a while ago. Like, some people are explorers by nature, and some people are settlers by nature, right? So some people, when they use a piece of software like SM, or when they are engaged in like learning something with a huge state space where there's a load of different options that you could take, some people really like to explore, and some people, like me, basically just do the same thing every day, just grinding out their reps every day, and not really exploring the different options. Like, I don't know. I didn't really ask a question there, but what do you think about that? Do you think that some people are just explorers by nature, and do you think that other people just aren't explorers by nature? I don't know.
I'd say it's adapted strategy from our past, whereas you settle with one thing and focus on the essential thing, which would be learning. You have the tool, and you do try to achieve the thing you are using the tool for, right? So you don't care too much about fiddling with the tool. This is your strategy. You have been probably doing the same thing on other,
Yeah.
things. And for me, my adapted strategy would be, to fiddle with tool, especially this probably stems from the games. I really was obsessed with managing my configurations, right? So I used to always fiddle with graphics, controls, more advanced configuration of the game, and I noticed that these tweaks give me some sort of edge over other players. Say you have graphics, one player has it on default. He has huge amount of details in map, and these details can really distract from the essence of game. You probably can't see the opponent as clearly as when details would be off of the environment or map or at low, so I started getting these edges from tweaking configs, and I adapted this strategy. It's about tweaking the tool to get better outcomes from the learning and so forth. So I don't know, it's just it's just a strategy I
I
found
wonder
effective.
if that adaptation came from the fact that there was benefits for you, because I tried the same thing. Like in Modern Warfare 2, I would fiddle around with my classes all the time, like because I was 10th prestige. By a certain point I had like 10 classes or whatever, and a class is just the default setup you start with, and I would look at YouTube videos of other people who had their class setups, and I would copy that and that kind of thing. But I don't think that I ever had the feeling that it was doing me that much good. So maybe because you did think it was, that kind of stuck with you as a good activity to engage in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my brain says.
It's also interesting what you were talking about, losing detail of the map so you can see the enemy better and all those kinds of things. That's exactly like generalizations, like losing detail so you can see the big picture.
Beautiful.
I really like that. Very nice. Yeah, I'm so interested in this explorer mindset, because to me it's like you're like almost like a scientist. You're a learning scientist, right? And you're in your laboratory, and you're doing these wacky little experiments, and then over time you're like filtering out the like hypotheses that you found didn't work for you, and over time you're accumulating all of these skills that give you an edge. And I feel like it ties into the exploitation problem, the one that we've been interested in recently. Sometimes I think you talk about how you feel like this is a disadvantage almost, the exploring too much and not just focusing on the main thing, which is the learning. But I really do think that over time, you benefit so much from having that explorer mindset and testing out all the different possibilities, even if at the time it's a little bit more inefficient maybe. I think that the long-term rewards are really high to that sort of experimentation. And yeah.
Reason I'm saying it could be a disadvantage because you can really start deluding yourself, and you can start railing off to from actual learning to learning the tool and twiddling with the tool instead of doing the actual learning. And like it's very common with let's say like in space repetition community, where people focus on templates, they focus on plugins, they focus on the tool, they try to make the tool better, and these endless improvements. It's really into this delusional spiral where they just keep trying to add to the tool and neglect the actual learning. So they try to tackle the I don't know, it's just I don't really know how to put it.
I know exactly what you mean.
I feel like it's the same with productivity tools.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
people get the feeling like there's some tool out there that if I just use it, I'll finally get down to the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But really, all they're doing is they're using that new tool search to avoid doing the work. And in the same way, it's like you're fiddling with the templates and you're doing all this and you're doing all that in a way to just delude yourself into believing that you're doing something valuable for your learning without actually learning.
Yeah.
I was reading Andy's criticism of just note-taking people, the note-taking community in general, and how many of them aren't focused on like a serious context. They're not creating anything in a serious context. They're just writing about their note-taking tool. And
Right.
I don't know. That was just something that has been on my mind recently. Like, it's possible to... You sort of get a reward, in a sense, from just trying out these wacky productivity tools, but in the end, you're just missing out on... You're investing time into something that isn't the real reward. You've just substituted it for a tool.
Yeah. It's really easy to get in, like the tool is always the middle step, and it's really like you use the tool to tweak your learning process. That's the main goal, but I don't know. Like people get stuck into tweaking this tool and forget the learning process itself. I don't know.
I also feel like people are bad at evaluating the benefits of the tweaks and tools they use. You know what I mean? That's what I really liked when we talked to Andy. He was very upfront and objective about, evaluating the counterfactuals. How productive and efficient would I be if I was not using this note-taking system? I think that's what people should do. Like, if you imagine, what if I couldn't use this feature of SM? What if I couldn't fiddle with the templates or do this or that? How much of a difference would that actually make? And I don't think people evaluate the effectiveness of these tweaks as often as they should.
Exactly, yeah. It's like when Naess, when he's tweaking his config or whatever when he's playing League, although that it's like another player could be doing that, but the difference between the other player and Naess is that Naess is playing at such a high level that he's like in a serious context of use in a certain sense.
Right.
Although obviously gaming maybe isn't the best example of a serious context of use. He's competing at a high level, and that in itself is a serious context of use. So the feedback he gets from the environment. So like when he changes a config, he tries it out in the game, and he gets feedback from that game in terms of like, did he do better or did he do worse? That's like a really good form of feedback because he's competing at a high level and the stakes are higher than someone who's just a filthy casual.
Right, exactly. It would be like, and forgive me for the comparison, but it's like if you're Michael Phelps and you try something new for your swimming, because you're already at the edge of what you're able to do, you should be able to notice whether there's some actual benefit to that. Whereas if you're just some idiot, probably anything you do would improve your swimming because you're not very good at it. There's a large margin of where you can improve already. So, I just feel like people aren't taking that kind of stuff into account. But I do think the explore-exploit problem is a real one. I mean, it's obvious. If you take it to the extremes and you never explore, you're just going to be stuck in a kind of local maximum and you'll never discover new or better ways of doing things. But if you explore all the time, then you'll never get any of the benefits of the things that you've discovered. So I did read a quick phrase one time, which is 20% explore, 80% exploit. But obviously that's very simplistic, and I like the ideas that you guys are coming up with around like doing that deliberately and having a system for exploration and exploitation.
Yeah, nice. What are your feelings with regards to exploration and exploitation in learning? Like, how much time should we spend? Well, firstly, why don't you like introduce like what is exploration, exploitation, very simply?
Right. So it can be explained simply with a plane building metaphor, where we're building the plane. We want to have the best parts, and it takes some time to acquire these parts for the plane, right? So this would be the finding the parts part would be exploration. We want to have the best parts, but at some point we need to start actually building the plane. We don't want to be spending our whole time finding these parts, and building the plane would be the exploitation part, right?
Mm.
So yeah, we need to have some kind of balance on finding new parts for our plane, and while at the same time building our plane so it's actually a complete plane at some point. Yeah.
Exactly. So one of the reason we're kind of interested in this problem is that it has applications in learning. Like, you need to balance your time between exploring new areas where you might find that there's a lot of value, a lot of interesting concepts that could be really beneficial to your life, and you also need to balance that with exploiting the domains that you already have some knowledge about, because you can't spend all your time exploring. As you said, you need to exploit some of the domains where you know there's definitely going to be some value for you. So do you have you like come up with some heuristics or just like a strategy for learning with regards to the exploitation dilemma?
No, not really. I would love to come up with some heuristics for that, but I don't know. It's just really difficult to put any sensible metrics for that. I feel like
you guys have a hint of a solution, right, with Thompson sampling?
Yeah, we'll see about how that turns out.
Yeah, we still need to implement it.
I don't have much interesting to say about it. I'll just say that I follow my learn drive, I guess, would be the simplest way to say it. Just if I find something interesting, and then I just explore related to that. And like, if you learn the sciences, because everything is interconnected, there's a lot of exploration by default. So if you explore something in, biology, you'll end up in chemistry, and then you'll end up with some mathematics, and, you may end up just in all the fields. So I found that to be just a fine way for me. But at the same time, it's really hard to evaluate. Like, if we were God and we knew how far we were from our true maximum potential of learning, then we could really evaluate it. But we don't actually know. You can't A/B test life. So, I did this and I turned out this smart, and I did this and I turned out this smart, or I turned out this, satisfied with my learning, or whatever it is. So it's a tough problem.
Exactly, yeah. And I bet after all the thought and experimentation that we're going to put into it, what we'll find is that it's just best to follow your learn drive. It's best to just do nothing at all. Literally just do whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. That's what Waz would probably say.
Exactly.
Just follow your learn drive.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, I wanted
but
to...
actually, I'll say one other thing about gaming addiction. For some reason, it just goes away. It just goes away. And, like, I don't know, maybe this will be useful to somebody out here. I'm not, like, a parent, so I don't know how to raise a kid. But I can say probably if there's a kid who's addicted to games, the best solution would be just to give the kid love no matter what, and just wait until it saturates. Wait until they're tired of the game, and then they'll move on to something else. Because I think an important piece is, at least for me, maybe Naess will agree with this, you get this feeling after a while, not only are you bored with the game itself, but you start to feel like you're wasting your life away, and that you should do more productive things. And so that's just very natural. I think that's a natural human instinct. As you get a little bit older and things like that, you just start to want to spend your time in a more valuable way. So the core of what I'm saying is, you shouldn't worry too much about how kids are wasting their time and this kind of thing. Everything should self-correct, and I guess the only time in which it wouldn't is if you engage in some kind of emotionally abusive behavior of children, where you don't love them as much because they play the games, or you're constantly upset at them, or these kinds of things. So in the ideal world, everybody would just be very accepting of the way that kids are, and they would eventually saturate with their unproductive addictions and move on to something more productive.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. One point to make is if there's a path that kids goes to school, high school, maybe university, and he has this maybe some sort of job along this way he never is too passionate about any of these things, then he would think he has this productive way under him, and I'd say in this case, it's very easy for the gaming addiction to, you know, you can be definitely addicted in your 30s and even further. I don't think it's too uncommon.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good point. I mean, again, I always feel kind of stupid because I got lucky in a lot of ways. Like, I happened to find something I really enjoy when I was pretty young, and I still do that now, which is programming. So I recognize not everybody's that way, and obviously
but
the ideal is finding an alternative interest that you actually enjoy and not something you're just forcing yourself into.
Yeah, exactly, forcing. Yeah, your point would be, I think it would be more accurate in context of where say you would have all the free time in the world and you don't have really any obligation, you would be only sitting in your home. Eventually, you definitely want to find something more productive than gaming. But yeah.
Right, which is exactly my scenario. So I'm probably really biased in a really silly direction because most people don't have that life.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Maybe disregard my advice. I don't know.
Yeah, school, and these intervenes of these things we do, they definitely can distort, our valuations. And yeah, I don't know, a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know. I guess the core of what I'm saying is try not to worry too much about it. I know that a lot of parents are worried about it. Like, it's becoming a more and more common thing for kids to be addicted to games. And I just don't know that it's something to worry about. You know what you should do instead? Show them Super Memo and say, here, learn instead. It's better. And they'll love it. Learning is the best. Right, guys?
Right.
Right!
I wonder how many parents there are listening to this podcast taking advice.
I don't know. I hope a lot, dude. Wouldn't that be interesting, right? Because we're a bunch of idiots. We don't have kids. But, we do have information about what it's like to go through a certain situation during your upbringing or whatever it is. So maybe that would be useful. So I'm not saying take our parenting advice because we're not parents. But, maybe there's a useful nugget here and there. I don't know. No, or just ignore it all. Whatever you want to do. It's really up to you.
All right. Do you want to call it that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. This was a good one.
Very nice. It was lovely to chat with you, Naess. I hope you come back soon.
Alrighty.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.